shit. Is this Soul Train?
Welcome back.
I was about to say, who ordered the pizza with extra sausage?
That was fucking awesome.
Welcome back to the Lifted, Lowered, and Confused podcast. Coming at you bi-weekly. We got some projects going on, right?
Can I just say I feel like I'm on timeout being on a stool?
Well, you chose that stool.
There's no other seats here.
There's two
Where's-
fold-up chairs. There's one right there and there's one
There's the rolly stool right there. It's way lower.
I could not see that behind Trent, and that's not a fat joke. I just couldn't see it.
Where's the dunce cap?
Go get that rolly chair.
Where's the
Go
cap?
get, somebody roll me the rolly chair.
It's on his
I'm
head.
fine. I'm fine.
No, you're not.
I kind of like being above you now.
Is that raining?
I'm gonna push you.
Start
I'm gonna push you over.
That's
Oh,
gonna
yeah. Right.
require effort. I don't know.
Hopefully all the windows are up and everything. Everybody's windows are up? You have the windows up in the Lincoln?
Yeah.
Man, he was rolling home the other day. Little girl was that high off the ground. I was like, holy shit!
Mine?
I didn't even know you drove that low on that thing.
Well, see, I don't really have a choice because I got to replace the right front cylinder. It's it's coming down a lot faster than I would like it to. I noticed the last time I drove it to Tampa.
You mean coming down like it's leaking?
Yeah, either that or the
See,
dump.
that car wasn't designed to hop, but somebody likes to
know,
hop.
I know.
Therefore, we've lost AC, and now we've lost the front left cylinder.
So it's been a little while since I drove it to Tampa. The last time I drove it to Tampa, I noticed it's slowly starting to come down. It was fine, it's manageable. Now, just from here to Price, just 10 minutes down the
No
road, and
kidding.
it's already like
It's dipping.
you can notice it leaning.
So if it's not on the ground, isn't it? Wasn't it just feeding back through the check?
It could be, or the dump isn't sealing.
Because I don't see
correctly.
any fluid on the ground.
Right, and there's never any puddles in the driveway.
You either got air in that cylinder, or you got.
It's.
Or,
I don't think it's air.
That's about there, too. It's not creaking. It doesn't.
Yeah, you don't.
It's not
you
that kind of
don't
leak.
hear it. It's probably the dump, to be honest with you.
Or, yeah, I was gonna say schmegma in the check valve or the dump.
Not the check valve, but the dump. I doubt it's the check valve. Check valves rarely fail like that.
Unless you put them in backwards, and then you make the key fail.
Facts.
I know a guy.
He's in the middle of doing something. Goes, oh, nothing. Can we just recap that?
Everything good? Yes, good. Send it.
Good. Full send.
He's like, hit it one more time. I'm like, I don't know, dude. It sounds like it's maybe it's not even moving. The thing just spun, and it's like,
Yep, it was backwards.
He sighed. He said, hit it one more time. Wing. And he's like this. He walked away and got on his phone. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm ordering a new key. I'm ordering a new new motor.
New motor.
He goes, I'm ordering a new motor.
That was my bad.
Oh no. He said hit it one more time, and he sighed. Then we pulled it off, and when we pulled it off, and he went, all right. And he just walked away with his phone.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you make me pull all-nighters.
Happens.
To be fair, that could have happened to any one of us. I mean, you could check it 10 times, but all it takes
I
is
swore,
But it didn't.
man.
It happened to Will, so we can
because I
bust his balls about it forever.
I tested all the little check balls,
Yeah,
so I
give it a
knew
little
which
push,
way they
push,
were
give it a
going,
little
and
push.
somehow that one got
he's like, all right,
backwards. I
this
don't
is
know.
exactly how it should
happens.
be. This
It
works.
happens. I did it. It happened. I did it. I own
Yeah,
it.
I know, because we grabbed it, and I said, yeah, I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
That's like the
know it.
12-inch hole, cutting a speaker and cutting the 12-inch hole for a 12.
Yeah.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
you go, funk, jam.
Everybody's done some dumb shit like that.
Yeah. But Peyton's joining us today.
Peyton?
What's going on with the truck, man?
I've let it sit for too long because
Yeah, you're
because
good.
I drove it months ago, and I was driving it to work, and the radiator hose decided it didn't want to do its job anymore. Popped off the radiator, dumped all my fluid onto the road, and I overheated it.
You didn't see it, and then didn't notice
Payne's
it.
just,
Well, because I'm sure what probably happened is it
What's
popped
that?
it off and blew it out the bottom.
Yeah.
Didn't hit anything hot, so
Yep.
you didn't see any,
And my temp gauge never worked. It's not working. I got the truck.
we'll get that fixed up.
Yeah.
I would laugh if it seized up, it got hot and died, and then all of a sudden your temp gauge, woof.
So
Pretty-
what's
no,
So what's the plan? Are we? Is the engine salvageable? Did you warp heads? Are we?
I don't know.
Rebuilding? Are we V8 swapping? What
I
are we
don't
doing?
I don't know what's up with the engine. It runs. It turns over. I turned over today.
Okay.
He said it's not knocking.
Yeah, it's not
That's
knocking.
good.
Not making any noises it didn't before.
Okay. So
So
it's salvageable then.
transmission, you said is shot as well, though.
I don't. Maybe. Because I pulled it off the driveway today because I was gonna try to see if I could take it around the block.
Yeah.
And pulled it out of the driveway, and I lost reverse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just died in the middle of the road.
His goal was, and I was actually going to suggest this earlier today, and I completely forgot, and then you ended up doing it, to test drive it a couple times around the block before I come follow you to here. And before I got a chance to leave the house, he goes, so here's what happened. And he's like, it stopped, reverse don't work, and it stopped dead in its feet, dead in its tracks. It lost power. And I was like, all right, well, that's probably a no-go then. Put that back.
Yeah.
It might literally just be low on fluid.
Yeah. Well, I checked it, and it was.
yeah.
up
And
on
he
the
did
crop.
check it, and he said,
Oh,
oh, fine. I said,
okay.
check the fluid. There was fluid.
Never mind then.
Did you check it in park or did you check it in neutral?
Checked it in park. Parked it up alongside the house
Yeah, I
again.
think it's low on reverse right now.
Yeah.
Well, because mine was on the wagon, was doing some stuff like that, and mine leaks, so I was low on fluid.
Leak is an understatement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember when was the 64,
My wagon thinks it's a Harley.
the blue 64 that I had when it was angry low on transmission fluid. Like it was almost like a slipping clutch. You just rev out.
Not for nothing, Peyton. That's the least worst thing that could have happened. I mean, we've had people here that their engine or transmission left the chat.
Yeah.
That's true.
It didn't grenade, so.
His didn't grenade. His just quit
Yeah, mine just said I don't want to be in this spot anymore.
and laid on the ground, and it said, "I quit." Like
Yeah.
him when he's got a bad back and he lays down flat on
Yeah.
his back and he just starts rolling around. That's what his transmission did in the turning lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Cadillac.
It doesn't help that four of us grabbed the front of it at my shop and just started. I don't think the shocks work anymore.
true.
Let's test it, and we started hopping the front of this. With
I don't think the people know this story. So I had a 92 or 93 sedan DeVille, the front wheel drive North Star ones, and it was a northern rusty Iowa car, but the underside was rusty. The
at our
top side actually
age, it
looked-
was cool.
Yeah. The top side looked nice. It was red. It was, as these guys call it, regal red. It was
What's your favorite color?
I like it. It was a nice car. It drove good. It got me from point A to point B. I wasn't really planning on modifying it because it was just the smaller sedan DeVille.
Yeah.
Front wheel drive. Not much to do to it. But
Well,
it was a good
we were
little daily.
younger, and it was a Cadillac, so it was cool.
Yeah, it was a good little daily. Regardless, it was rusty, and the front shocks were it was wavy going down the road.
God.
So Dean and three other guys decided to grab a hold of the fenders and start trying to bounce this car and hop it. And,
Trying
well, they successfully did.
every hit, another 3 pounds of rust.
I backed up when they finished, and there was a perfect rust square of the subframe, of the subframe, and it was fine. It still drove fine for about a week.
Fine.
For about a week, and then I left work one day, and I stop at the stoplight, and I'm waiting, and I hear this like Camaro, like there was this orange Camaro like rumbling like right behind me over here, and the light turned green, and I hit the gas, and I just hear a big pop, and I thought it was this Camaro backfiring. And I didn't think much of it, and all of a sudden I started just drifting to the right. So I go to turn, and I got nothing, and I literally just remember winging my steering wheel. It was like a boat steering wheel.
At the helm, just
Yeah, so I was just like, I just went gas brake until it veered off into the grass. Thankfully, I didn't hit anybody. Nobody hit me. And I get out and I look, and the engine just dropped and took the steering shaft right along with it.
wow.
It was just laying on the ground.
I'm happy that happened at a stoplight. It could have happened when you were driving.
Oh yeah, no, that was, thanks for that, pal. But yeah, but that's okay, because that led to the Blazer. That's the one that when we bagged the Blazer. And
Could you imagine if that happened when he was driving? Just, he sings like, I don't want to wait.
making my way downtown.
Making my way downtown. Just cut right.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Wow.
The stories. We have terrible stories.
For
So that was-
days.
We have great stories.
Speaking of terrible Cadillac stories, let's talk about your Cadillac.
Yeah, what kind of disappointments we got today?
All the disappointments.
Yeah, what kind of disappointment? He's like, I'm not happy it happened to you, but I'm also happy it happened to you. Cadillac's been down for about 6 or 8 months. I don't care to
It's been
even
a minute.
know anymore. Transmission went first, second, and I quit. So
For a second, good luck.
it literally went first, second, and went into third and went back into second. Just screamed. I was like, oh, well, I guess we're good on that. Limped it to Steve's shop, and he pulled the stick, and he went to check it, and he's looking at the dipstick, looking at it, looking at the top. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm making sure I didn't pull the oil dipstick.
Because it wasn't red in the
Because it
bow.
was not red, it was black. He goes, oh yeah, there's third gear right there. It was all black, and he smelt it. It smelled so burnt. So
Yeah.
we lost third. We parked it 6-8 months. I've been dealing with customer stuff, and that's obviously that anybody who owns a business understands that takes precedence over everything else. So finally 2 weeks ago, give or take, a little bit more than 2 weeks ago, we got to his shop, pulled it, sent it out. Old boy rebuilt it. Last couple days ago, last Saturday, we put it in.
Saturday. Yeah,
It was Saturday. Got it all clean, cleaned up, douched it and everything. Nice, clean, aluminum. The whole just looked nice and fresh. Put it in, and every gear you choose, from park to reverse to first, second, drive, nothing. It doesn't even change.
You don't even feel it
The
dropping.
tone, nothing
drops into gear.
Tone, nothing. So he got the transmission rebuilder fella on the horn there, and he thinks it might be something with a valve inside, not
valve,
seating. Yeah, something not seating and creating the pressure. So we're currently stalled on that. So hopefully in the next day or so, Steve will call me up. We'll get over there, put it back on the lift, get the transmission guy over there, drop the pan, let him do his magic, take a look at it, and hopefully that's the problem, and it's not something like the torque converter where we have to pull the whole transmission back out.
Dude, it was disheartening. Like, we were there
Of course it was.
all day. It was beautiful. It was all clean.
Yep.
Put it in, started dumping fluid in it. Everything's good.
At first, we're just like, oh, there's not enough fluid.
It's
It's
low
not even
fluid.
on the stick, yeah. And
So-
I'm like, that's 10 quarts now, and it's right where it needs to be.
Steve gets in and you hear it shift. But you know how, like, when a car drops into gear, it'll
Yeah. You hear it shift, followed by Steve going, well, what the fuck? Literally.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. He's like, "Are you in gear?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm in gear." But she ain't doing nothing. Like, it did nothing. bro.
Not happy.
You had all the neutrals.
All the neutral.
Yeah, all neutrals. Not even a tone change. So it's life. I would hope it really is something as insignificant as the transmission guy simply forgot to connect something or tighten something down. Or just,
He did say, like, Steve called him, and he's like, "Oh, it could be this the valve, and if it's the valve, my bad." That's what he said.
yeah, literally, hopefully it's something that, insignificant, and it just can be simply resolved. My fingers are crossed that we don't have to drop the trans, and
Yeah.
I don't know, he has to go through it again, or we have to put a new torque converter in it. So hopefully we don't have to go too many steps backwards.
The wife and I had something like that with her old car. Transmission went out due to age. We took it to a shop. They rebuilt it. Put it in. Everything was fine. And then, a month later, it wasn't long. I want to say it was a month later. She pulled up at a stoplight. Light turned green. She started to accelerate, and nothing happened. And
Christ, I don't hope that doesn't happen
and
to me.
then she ended up she's like, well, what do we do? And I was like, well, apparently I'm going to get out and push. And I said, but try, give it more gas, see what happens. So she gave it more gas, and it was just like, wow, and it was barely moving. And I was like, just pull straight off the road.
Like slipping almost.
Yeah, it was, and then we called them up, and they said, bring it back up. And they went through it, and they're like, it was some part that they thought was good in the original transmission had failed, so we had to pay for one little part inside of it, it was a circuit.
I don't know.
thing.
My opinion is of
I'm
this.
sorry, but if
it's
you're rebuilding something, rebuild it.
That's-
Don't
yeah,
use
my
old
point.
shit.
Yeah.
Rebuild
short
it.
of the hardware, that
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be super set heavy torque.
Right.
Short of the hardware, if you're rebuilding it, everything. You
Yeah.
want everything in there new. Oh, that
I don't want
seal-
all new components except for this one old thing. Who's probably going to be the next thing to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want the old seals. I
So-
want everything new and fresh.
So we had a little argument of, they wanted us to buy the whole new part, and
Why am I paying for the part?
I'm like, well, if you'd replaced it to begin with, that'd have been part of the bill. So we agreed on half. I'll pay for
How
half.
much? How much was the part?
like
It was
like
the
it cost
principle.
us like $50.
It was insignificant. It was just
It was
the principle.
it was
of it.
enough. It was more of the it
It's
was
about the principality.
yeah, it was the argument of no, you should have replaced it.
Reality,
And,
Smokey.
We wouldn't be in this situation,
so,
and
but yeah, and then it was fine until we got rid of the car.
yeah,
So,
That's horseshit.
yeah.
I just didn't feel like arguing with it.
I would have
Yeah.
argued all day, but they probably would have shit in your transmission. So
Yeah.
I would have if you argue with me.
How you gonna upper decker a transmission?
The old upper deck.
First, second is all right, but third is sluggish as hell.
And it smells terrible.
It's kind of mushy.
Real soft on the pedal on third, but that's
Ugh.
disgusting.
Terrible. Terrible.
Grossed ourselves out here.
I was hoping old Tim was going to join us, but
Yeah.
he's too good for us now. He got himself he's a Corvette guy now.
Oh no.
I think he just got his jorts in the mail today.
The New Balance.
I was gonna say, did he get his New Balances
Yeah.
yet? That's what I was
Probably
just
what
gonna
I'm gonna be
Tonight.
disheartened if he got New Balance, but he didn't get
What's
the Velcro.
He's probably getting the New Balances tonight.
Yeah.
Those better be Velcro.
I was hoping he was going to join us because I think he's the one that shared what I wanted to talk about tonight. And Dean had a good idea about this conversation. These wraps, right? Is
Which
he the
I've
one-
never
is he-
heard of until you
Is he the
said
one?
that.
Is he the one that shared
No,
it?
I shared it.
You shared
Yeah.
it.
Oh, good.
Okay, you shared it. So good. You're
Well,
here.
then forget Tim. I'm glad you're not here.
Yeah, Tim.
Corvette
Do your
bitch.
Corvette stuff with your Corvette friends.
He's gonna be outside right now, just on the
So-
rev limiter.
So Justin shared a video of a wrap being printed with lowrider patterns,
Like full lower.
like full lowrider patterns, right? So I never
How did I miss
realized
that?
and I don't know.
I totally missed that.
I never realized. Like I know you could get these crazy
in there.
wraps, and I know you can get colored wraps and all this stuff, but I never realized like you could print your own wrap, right? Like these patterns.
Anything.
Okay. I remember.
And-
okay. Yeah.
So Dean brought up a good question, like
Guess the
or a
Alzheimer's
good,
kicking in.
good topic, and he said,
Dementia.
does wrapping it with printed on lowrider graphics take the art out of it, right? You said
Does it take the artistry out of hot rodding and low riding, and is it progressive in the sense of art, like low riding and hot rodding, or is it now just becoming a look? Is low riding just becoming a look?
Yeah.
Because the people who put down, not even the hours, the weeks involved in lines and patterns and shading, and I mean, you can go on and on and on
Yeah.
to then get that desired look, and the artistry in which it takes to get that look and to have that imagination to do that, to then just, and I'm neutral on this. I'm trying to figure out where I kind of stand on the situation myself.
When
To
you're done, I'll
just
tell you.
print it out and then stick it on a car, is that progressive, or is that like, because they have now a 3D printing machine that can print panel. You can take a screen, like a shot, like you can what is it, photocopy or whatever, like a side of a car, and put it in this large machine. I think it's a couple $1 million or whatever it is, and it'll literally 3D print a metal panel for you to graft on the other side. It's got rollers and everything in it, and it literally presses out a flat piece of 18 gauge and turns it into whatever desired shape you need. Is that progressive, or is that like taking away the craftsmanship? Because there's going to be that group of people that are in the middle of that, where they know how to do it from scratch, how to English wheel and metal planish and everything, and make a part from nothing, to then you can just print it out. Eventually it's just going to be people that know how to just type in what they need to type in and print out a panel or print out graphics like that. That's where I think it's like not
Are
progressive.
you sure somebody's not designing those graphics on the computer, or
just
is it
the
AI?
same. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
is
AI
the same.
design.
Either way.
Is it progressive, or is it taking away from the real mechanic and of it all, the artistry of it? That and the wraps.
Well, there's a lot of variables. Like I'm on the fence with this one because,
Me too.
again, like you said, how long does it take to tape off and paint those graphics, the candy colored paint like that? You're looking at $20,000 for a paint job,
And
right?
the metal work too. It takes days and weeks to get a desired.
Or I can spend $7,000
Yep.
and get the same pattern, and I'll have it done in a day or two. Versus,
Yep.
I'll pick my car up in 5 months when you're done painting, and I paid you $30,000, $25,000.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Like
It's tough.
it doesn't mean you're any less of a lowrider, in my opinion.
Right.
It means I don't have $20,000 on a paint job, I got $7,000 and I'm going to be driving it on Friday.
I believe it's more-
versus 5 months from now.
in you know, in line with what you're saying, I believe it's more affordable. You know, it's
100%.
more ergonomic for your wallet.
100%.
But for the guy who's doing it, is it taking away from the workforce that learns these crafts, these skills?
No, you're still gonna have clientele who want that, who do that. But then, like the average Joe who doesn't have $100,000 to build a car, now he can compete. Or you're still not. A wrap is not going to compete with paint if you're for judging. You know, it's just not going to.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have that extra, the manpower, the hours in. Like, and the judges are going to. I would assume they're going to repay that with extra points or whatnot, a paint versus a wrap. But for a cruiser, why not?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
again,
I'm still on the fence
and,
with it.
And that's another thing, right? Spend $7,000 on a wrap, cruise it up and down the street and beat the brakes off of it.
Yeah.
Versus if I just spent $30,000 on this, am I going to trailer it and never drive it because I don't want to chip up the paint? Or
So what you're saying is it has its place.
it's got its place.
All right.
Wholeheartedly, I believe it's got its place.
I'm not against that. I'm not against that.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. I would say that it's got its place because it's one of those, like, you know, some of you guys don't know because you're not into motorcycles, but he'll understand this. Like, if you went and had Indian Larry do something on your bike,
Right.
even just to get him to do one little thing to have that,
Rest in
versus-
peace, Indian Larry.
yeah, versus,
Who the fuck is Indian Larry?
A renowned chopper builder.
yeah,
Not an Indian.
Apparently not.
not at all.
I don't know any.
World-renowned-
I don't know any
world-renowned-
Indians named Larry.
World-renowned
Yeah.
chopper builder.
So-
that passed away years ago.
Crazy
It's one of those, if you had, like, maybe he made you a custom kickstand, something
Yeah.
minor, right?
That can then be popped out of a machine quick.
Right.
You know, it's
So-
Indian Larry design or style.
Right.
Style would be probably the legal
Right.
term, but
So,
yeah, it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. I guess.
So I feel like this is going to be very similar to, or become a very, very comparable argument to the bags versus hydraulics, right? I think you're going to have a lot of people who are very adamant about one side or the other.
That me too. I feel like that's going to happen.
Gatekeepers.
Well, I'm that guy.
Well, beyond gatekeeping, I think people just have such a heavy
Okay,
preference
you're
on
this
one way
guy.
or the other.
Hang on, let me finish. I 100% think that wraps have their place.
Just not lowriders?
I also 100% think that it takes the artistry out of low riding.
Yeah.
I think
To an extent.
well, let me ask you this. I'm going to interrupt you for a
Kind of.
second on what you're saying. Let's say I was a graphic designer and taking cues from you, I drew a lowrider graphic and then we had it printed. Would that be any different than you laying the tape?
It's a different artistry.
Yes, because graphic design, there's codes and ways to manipulate your lines and all these points where and everything's going to be perfectly symmetrical and it's all going to be perfect.
Opposed to
Right?
experience.
Perfect in that
Right.
square, but it's not going
Right.
to float on the car.
That's all right. You can pour that shit out. Just dump it on the floor. It's terrible.
Hey, hey.
So
Turpentine.
I think that lowriders in particular are very much about the artistry, right? They're the cars with the most elaborate paint.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying about the just cheap wraps.
I think it would be great
across
for
the
a
blocks.
hopper.
That's right.
Put it on a hopper.
That's exactly where I
Beat
was
the
going.
brakes off it.
exactly where I
destroy a
was going.
panel with a cylinder flying through the hood. Put a new hood on it. Throw a wrap back on it. You're back in the game inside of a day. Like,
I think the show cars and even the really nice street cruisers,
aren't going to have that.
you don't wrap it. You don't wrap that car.
That's kind of where I sit. It has its place, but it's not something I would ever consider.
No.
I wouldn't either. But
Yeah,
let's say not everybody's a gajillionaire, right? Building a car. Let's say the body's straight, everything's clean. You don't got the money for the paint. Throw a wrap on that bitch. Do your motor. Do your suspension. Get it squared up. Save up your pennies for there's a spot for it where you can cruise it. It's It's respectable.
And I don't disagree with that.
From 5 or 10 feet away, it's
Yeah,
respectable.
but that,
Would I do
but
it?
that
No,
goes-
but I don't disagree with that.
But that goes back to the old saying, you know, if you're not a bajillionaire and you can't afford it, you're just bad at being broke. If you can't afford it, learn to do it.
Right.
I couldn't afford paint jobs. I learned to paint.
That's where some of the best painters and
Dean
best
Dean
builders.
couldn't afford to pay people to weld and build his cars. He learned to
You
do
learned.
it. Now
You,
he's one
you
of
did
the
learn
best
how to
at
paint.
it.
You did learn how to paint.
In fact, from upholstery to metalwork, it
Yeah.
wasn't always about. I did always genuinely have an interest and want to learn, but there was an overwhelming position where it was like, I can't afford to get this done. I can learn it though.
You can't
100%.
be broke and dumb. You know what I'm saying?
You can be. You ain't been down to Inglewood, baby.
They both were like me.
That's just how I feel.
Here's my thing, right?
You can't be broke and dumb. Peyton gets up and just walks away.
Well, that's my cue, boys. I'm out.
He did wave his hand. He's like, "Yep, that's me."
But Peyton's just a kid, and I assure you, just from the little times of hanging out with us and working on cars with us, he knows more than he leads on. I assure you, he can do his own maintenance on his cars. He can do his own maintenance on his air rod setup. He can.
You're not
he
wrong
can-
about
he can
that, 'cause we
troubleshoot
make sure
his
he
air rod
learns that.
setup. Like,
I'd be able to do it if my mom would let me do it in the driveway.
see, but that's not something that you can help there.
Which brings us to our next point about being broke.
So
that's just that's where I stand on the whole situation.
you did learn how to paint. You do very well, in my opinion, right?
I already know this is that.
But I was here this last week.
I retired.
Dean was here this last week.
I retired.
How much time, hours, do we have on the hood and the roof of this car?
A lot.
Just give me a rough guesstimate. Days on days.
And I know this isn't kind of really in that.
Probably
it's still-
20.
it's
Probably
in that
20.
line of like what you're talking about.
Right.
We also don't have the correct like tools and booth.
Right.
But I know
However,
your point is still valid. Your
If we
point
had,
is still
if we
valid.
could have wrapped it, this bitch would have been done in a day and a half, an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it's a hood and a roof.
Yeah, but it's also not a lowrider paint job. It's just it's
It
pretty-
is.
it's
It
pretty
is a
basic.
lowrider-ish paint job.
It is not.
Do we have stripes and graphics?
To be fair, you
Pattern.
did stripes and you did
A pattern.
You did shading with a
100%.
Yeah,
mini gun.
but it was all stencils. It was all.
But still,
it was
you not one of
simple-
us could have just
simple
winged
straight
it.
lines. It wasn't any kind of crazy.
But not one of
pattern
us could have
lines.
winged it like that. You winged it and came out great on all the things that you stenciled in
I winged
and
it with a
faded
stencil.
in.
That's not winging it. That's just a stencil.
I wouldn't have known how to do it without learning and experiencing like you have in the past.
Well, because I'm not terrible at being broke.
I don't know. It would just.
That's just where I stand. I'm all for wraps. I'm all for. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for wraps.
The hard part for me is I
Just
agree
not-
with both of you.
just
I,
not on
I,
the
I don't think I would ever do it for myself, but I agree with you. You're making valid points.
Look,
He's making valid points.
We can go down all kinds of rabbit holes, right?
Yep.
Every 5 years, cars change. The theme of cars change, right? You drop 30 grand on a paint job.
Yep.
5 years later, that paint job's obsolete because every car in that genre is went in a different direction.
Yeah.
Spend 5 or 6 grand on a wrap, things change.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Yeah.
You're right back in the game.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, but
there's a lot of.
you leave a wrap on that long. What's coming off with it, right? Like you gotta.
You're right, and guess what? I'm gonna cover that bitch up with a wrap again.
But you're not though. You're gonna see it underneath the wrap.
You don't
Sure, I bet you do.
see what?
Whatever comes off with that wrap. If you take any paint off with that wrap when you're pulling it off,
Well, what they
No.
do, what
They
do
heat
is
it up and pull it off,
They make
bro.
sure that it does come off like that. But also, if it wasn't level, they make sure it's level before they put it on.
Yeah, they're not gonna.
That's people aren't just going to slap a wrap on it, and if it's unlevel.
Not the ones who do it the right way.
Right. It's a
Home
cheaper,
hobbyist maybe.
It's a cheaper fix,
But then-
100%.
but
It's a
then
quicker
you s-
fix, 100%.
but then you still have to do paint work.
Really?
Just leveling it.
How are you going to level it without doing the paint work?
Well, that's
You're going to strip the rest of it so one panel's lighter than the rest.
I've
You're gonna
never
put-
seen, like, unless you have some really janky paint to begin with, I've never seen paint come off with a wrap being peeled off.
I have.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I've seen multiple because I've had trade-ins come in with wraps and letterings that I've had to remove, and they've taken paint off.
okay.
Yeah, but were they done correctly? Was it a quick? Was it a work van where
Was it
like hey,
somebody
give
in
me-
their garage?
Give me the $500 special so I can put my logo on it, and then yeah, obviously.
No, I had a Camaro come in that had a real nice wrap on it. Took a bunch of paint off. I've had work.
Who
vans
took the
with
paint? Who
letterings.
took the wrap off? Your body shop guys or?
One of the detailers.
The detailers?
with heat guns.
What's their experience with that stuff? I'm just saying, like,
I couldn't tell you. That I couldn't
So-
tell you.
there's ways to do stuff, and just like painting, there's ways to wrap and there's ways to take wrap off. And if you don't do it right, obviously
Yeah.
you're going to run into the
Sure,
same issues.
sure.
If you don't prep the paint right, what happens?
Right.
It's gone. You know, so again, I think it's a different type of artistry. I think it is significantly cheaper, significantly quicker. And for people that are going that route for a cruiser, obviously if you're bringing that shit inside, like to Phoenix or something like that, then you're going to get laughed
If
out of the
you're-
building.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You're going to get laughed out of the building.
If you're cruising the block, if you're busting the block down, don't wrap it. If
No,
you're a straight hopper, wrap it.
Here's the thing: if you're cruising,
Just destroy it anyway.
I ain't gonna hang out with y'all. I'm gonna hit the. You'd be like from 10 feet, like, damn, that looks good. And then I'm bending the corner, you never see it again.
He's
You
not,
ain't gonna
he's
get
not
close
wrong.
enough.
There's some wraps that are so good you don't know they're wrapped until someone tells you they're wrapped. I will give him that.
So,
Not my cup of tea. Not
like it.
something
Not my cup of tea
I
either.
don't think I'll ever consider.
but I 100% think there are people out there. It's gonna save.
it's gonna find its place.
They absolutely will. They're
Especially
absolutely
after people
will. Like
see
I said,
that.
it's gonna turn into the whole air ride hydraulic.
People are gonna
debate
start
all over
putting
again,
their
but
club
with
names
paint-
and
with
stuff in
paint
it.
and
Everything.
wrap.
Yeah.
Print
I've,
everything.
I've seen people put wraps on cars while they're saving for a paint job,
Yeah, exactly.
so it doesn't look
It's not janky.
janky. Yeah,
You know,
so it looks
You got the motor.
finished.
You got the motor done. You got your suspension.
Now, if somebody
done.
wraps their
That's
car
fine.
in primer, that's when we're gonna have to talk here.
and that's all fine. But have any of those been lowriders?
Ooh, gotcha.
Well,
Ryan doesn't really
I'm not. Yeah,
in the lowrider scene. You don't go to lowrider shows.
Like I said, I'm
I-
all for wraps.
I
Wraps
go to
have
some
their
of them.
place.
I'm just not like
Some.
I go
as
to some
hardcore as some people.
No, he makes sense.
You big
both
stereo
make
show.
sense.
I'm pretty sure the guy that shared that was a lowrider guy, though.
Probably. I mean, he's doing lowrider patterns. I would imagine he's a lowrider guy.
I would hope.
But that's my fundamental way of thinking about lowriders and the artistry is you don't wrap it.
The heart goes into it. The
Gotta-
time, the almost earning it is what goes into a lowrider.
We got to check back in a
Yeah.
year. Because a year ago, you weren't so keen on airbags. Now you're like, meh.
Well, I can see.
Certain cars for
I've
me.
talked. Listen, I've been around enough of them, and I've talked to enough people, and I've seen enough setups to where I can logically understand the evolution of the air ride. Right? I get it. You look at the traditional lowriders, like we've all discussed, and you've all thrown at me. You know, they weren't meant to hop; they were just up and down, and this and that, and blah blah blah. And I get it. I get it. So I would not air ride my lowriders.
But you have.
But I get it.
But you have. Do you remember the Blazer?
That was a
I
Blazer.
was guessing you did do the Blazer.
That was a lowrider inspired Mini.
It's a lowrider, bro.
It was a lowrider inspired Mini.
His pronouns are lowrider inspired mini. I identify as a
Exactly. That was the Blazer.
We just lost our last two viewers. My pronouns are lowrider inspired Blazer.
That's just my feelings, my 2 cents. But by all means, you do you. You know, it's not my car.
I
it's
ain't
your
gonna
car.
wrap nothing. Like,
No, yeah.
I can 100% see how it could work its way into any culture, any mini trucking.
You're not wrong. It's definitely
lowrider.
it's gonna take hold, I think.
Obviously, Euros. They're all over Euros already.
don't-
Like the little fucking
Yeah.
race cars. That,
Euros and mini trucks. Like look at what's his name? The dent guy, Mike, with the S10.
the S10. Yeah, it's all
He's
wrapped.
got his graffics are wrapped and all. They're stickers.
And he
and all
wants
that
to
stuff.
he wants
And
to
it
get
looks-
them painted, but
Didn't he sell
those
that?
are
I thought
and
he got
it
rid of
looks-
that truck.
the truck. No, he's are you
just
kidding
got
me? He's
back
got so
from-
much clout from that thing.
Yeah. He just got back from a couple of big shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got so much clout. I
And
know
it-
the guy that painted it.
It looks and the truck
I work
looks
out with the
great.
guy that painted it.
Those even though they're stickers, the stripes they fit it. They work on it. I don't have any issue with that.
Like I said, I think it's going to spread. It's just significantly cheaper. It's significantly easier. Downtime.
I think a better word for that is just significantly more affordable. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't like admitting that because again, I'm more with Will on this whole
Well, let's
discussion,
let's
but
let's,
it's
more
significantly
let's
more
talk
affordable.
something close to heart, close to your heart.
Ice cream sandwiches?
Not that close.
Not that close. Okay, not that close.
Pain or prison.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Pain or prison. This alleviates pain or prison.
Also true.
Yeah.
If you ain't got your car back from being wrapped after a month, something's up.
Yeah, right.
The shop shut down. They leave. You know what happened.
Like we had one car. I ain't gonna say no names. It's right back there. Pain or prison for 5 years ish.
5.
And we still ain't got all the
Proceed.
parts back.
We got
Most.
99%. We're getting there. We're getting there. But again, paint or prison. And how many people do we know that have had cars in paint or prison?
Yeah.
A few.
Everybody.
Quite a few. Quite a few.
Everybody.
Or you drop it off at the rat place on Monday, and I'm gonna pick it up on Friday.
Listen, that is not the point that I am arguing.
No,
It is-
I'm just saying these are things like, how hard is it to find somebody who can do graphics like that and do them well,
Yeah,
well
that's-
enough that you're gonna, all right, my car will be down for 5 months.
It's not that hard.
It's not that easy.
Yeah. Joe Schmo up the road, or go to Nikolai and
Right.
have him throw some
Listen,
patterns
here-
on it for a few months.
And that all depends on where you live. Right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of variables that we need to take into consideration.
There is a lot of variables, but I still think that it's easier to find somebody that can paint those patterns than you think it is.
I don't know the guy.
I guarantee it's a whole lot easier to find somebody to wrap that
but,
bitch.
But once again, if you don't want to deal with the painter prison, learn. That's what I did.
That's it, and that's it. You know, you're in this game, just like when I build cars for people, air ride or hydros. I don't just say, here's your keys, have a nice day. I say, here's what you got to do. Here's what you got. If it's on a lowrider, on hydros, I got to teach them how to hit the switch. You can't just hit the switch. I got
Right.
to teach them how to hit the switch, how to disconnect and reconnect, how to charge their batteries, how to check for maintenance, how to grease certain things. You know, you can't. And I know an overwhelming amount of shops literally just hand people the keys and say, here you go have fun. They don't even know what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I do agree with Will. It's like you need to learn it. So it's like why I teach people when they receive their vehicle, be it air ride or hydraulics. There is an amount of basic fundamentals you
So-
need to learn.
All right, I'll give you the learning aspect of it, right? How'd you learn? Where'd you go? What'd you do?
Facts. I didn't have the money, but I had the desire. And
Right.
It was teaching myself, how do I get into this?
And then you also went to Wyotech.
Oh, yep, I did. I followed that
Right.
up with school. And
You
more
learned
learn-
how? Where
more
did you
learn.
Where did you initially learn body work and paint?
Well, I got
Dealership?
an apprenticeship at a dealer.
Dealership, yeah.
Right. So
You got to get your foot in. You got to do what you got to do.
grown ass people who are working every day, right? You guys had ins to
They have the money, they don't have the time,
Right.
nor do they have the desire to learn it.
and spraying one color or even a two-tone, you could probably learn that on your own, teaching yourself. Doing graphics where you have
There's so many courses. Manny does courses down in Miami all the time on this stuff.
and when does a grown-ass man have time to take courses and do this? And
They're weekend courses.
I don't know, dude.
But see, that's where I kind of I'm tilting more towards what Will's saying, because it's like, if you want it bad enough, you take the time to learn it, and then, in my opinion, earn it. Earn those stripes with low riding. Again, I'm on your side and I'm on his side, because it's like, earn it. You know, you're getting into this
Like
lifestyle, earn it.
If you're younger, if you're Peyton's age, right? He doesn't have a career.
Yeah.
You know, he's working. He's working a
But
little-
I made
a thing.
$12 an hour learning to paint. Like
Right, but that was your job. You were at the deal. You were at a car dealership in a body shop.
Yeah.
You had time to focus. You went to work for 10 hours a day, and that was your focus.
So I could at the time I could make $12 an hour slinging mud doing stucco, or I could make $12 an hour and learn something that I'm going to need to know how to do.
Right. What if somebody is in a career? Ryan's an IT guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan's 50 years old, 50-ish,
I was going to say, easy. That's young. How old are you?
50 plus.
50 plus.
No. Hit us with the age. Hit us with the age.
AARP.
Five, 5, 6,
53.
Early bird
3,
special.
3. My bad. I did not
Right?
try to go over on you on that one.
Like-
5, 6. He's like 3.
He has a car. He needs paint. How the hell's Ryan with a career, a wife, all this other stuff? How's he going to have time to learn how to, like, again, if you're younger?
YouTube. You know how much I learned off of YouTube alone?
Fact.
And how much money are you going to spend fucking up paint jobs?
You got to do
If
what
you
gotta
have,
do.
but then I agree with Will. If you
Or-
have a desire to get into this lifestyle,
Or
you need to
you
have a
go
desire
spend
to learn
half
it.
the money on a wrap.
If you have a desire to get into this lifestyle, you should have a desire to learn how to do it.
I get that, but to an extent.
'Cause you
I'm,
don't
dude,
even
I'm
need-
in the middle of
You don't need expensive
Both points here.
stuff and supplies to do nice paint jobs. Like,
You do. You need a little bit.
no, I started out with crap paint guns, man. They
Right.
work just as good as my Technas. Like,
So,
Trust me, we know. We peeled
I hear
that
the
hood
Harbor
with a
Freights are
chisel and a
pretty
hammer.
what was that?
I hear the Harbor Freights are pretty decent.
Yeah.
yeah,
Me-
the
me
black,
and Trent
the, black,
know-
the Black Widows from Harbor Freight. Yeah,
Me and Trent know about not having the right tools. We had to chisel the paint off that hood with a hammer and chisel.
Yeah, literally. And we even used the
No.
spray shit to get off.
yeah
But
aircraft. That stuff's garbage.
I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. It's like that one dude up in the Indy crew. He's was teaching himself how to do the same stuff Mikey does, stripes.
Yeah.
And it's like, but he did it for his own car. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's looking to do it for anybody else.
Right.
Maybe he would. I have no idea. But
At the end of the day, man, you pick something up as a hobby and you try to expand upon it and expand upon it and expand upon it.
I mean, that's why you get the people doing like skateboards and stuff. Like they're test panels, honestly.
Yeah. When I started out, I bought a thing of 10 decks, and I painted them all. I painted one with just base coats, just to see base coats. Then I started, okay, let me try these pearls. And then I finally ventured into the flakes and then the candies. And then once I ventured into the flakes and the candies, I said, okay, let me start taping stuff. And I quickly learned about flash times and when you can tape and when you can't tape.
Yeah.
Because you screw up enough, you're gonna I guess I better wait more than 5 minutes.
I think what he's trying to say is when it boils down to the artistry, you got to learn it.
100%.
When it comes to, I don't want to say nickel and dime because that sounds like such a negative connotation, but like when you can't afford it and you're trying to make do, things of that nature like a wrap kind of come into play. So I honestly agree with both of you, but it'll never be something I consider.
Like I'm not going to judge somebody.
I think a wrapped car, a wrapped lowrider, just doesn't have any soul.
I wouldn't say that.
There's no love in that.
That was the whole point of this conversation was, is it taking away from the artistry and is it just becoming a look? And that's where I think the wraps are just making it just become a look.
So, right. Somebody likes the look, but you say it doesn't have any soul. The whole thing about this is individuality. It's my car, my way, right?
Yeah, and by all means, if you want to wrap it, wrap it.
Right, but then you're going to look down on the person.
I'm not going to look down on it. I'm just going to not think that car has.
Oh, look, it's a soulless, piece
gonna
of shit
think,
car.
I'm not going to think that car was
It's got
built,
air ride and a wrap.
I'm not going to think that car was built with any love behind it. It'll still be a nice car.
I 100% disagree with that. Loving one car, loving it, and being able to afford that's two different things.
Are
You
two
can
very
love the car,
different things.
and I got $7,000 in my pocket. I love the car. I'm getting it wrapped, and I still love the car. It's beautiful. Or you don't love the car more because you got $25,000 for a paint job.
I see it as the cheap way out. I would never do that.
No, I don't see it that way at all. I see it as what people can afford.
Speaking of the Indy crew, by the way, not to sidestep too hard, but Kurt hit me up today.
Yeah, did he show you the pictures?
Yeah. His lower control arm on his dually
Has left the chat.
has
Did he not get with you
end of
today?
it,
I haven't talked to him today.
Bro, hey,
the end of it where it holds the ball joint, it's 1/2-inch plate,
gone.
and it said I quit, and the ball joint went wee. And
So
it's like a 20-year-old kit, and I forgot who the manufacturer was. He actually texted it to me. It's probably wise I don't say it, but the manufacturer does not make those kits anymore. It's a discontinued kit.
Yeah.
And he asked my opinion on how would you reinforce this, because I have to fix this because they do not make anything else like this. So I looked at it. I said it's a beefy control arm. I said, but that is an inferior design right here, where it is half-inch plate, but it's only this wide, and it's literally on the point where all of that vehicle's weight, a dually no less, is carrying all that weight with a ball joint. 1/2-inch plate or not, if it's only a 1/2 inch wide as well, it let go and just poof, pop right off. Yeah.
He
So that's the inferior part right there. Right there, it's too thin.
the part that's missing.
I know it's 1/2-inch plate, but it's too thin. I told him you need to get a minimum of 1/4-inch steel, wrap it around it, and it needs to be TIG welded, so it's a low deposition weld. It's not interfering with the ball joint. And he said, that's my buddy's kind of thinking, this, that, the other. He's got a TIG welder. I said, yeah, I would absolutely recreate that hole again with 1/2-inch plate, and then you need to box around it, above and below it, without interfering with the spindle, the rim, but it has to be reinforced.
Yeah, he's getting ready
and then
for,
TIG weld for a low deposition weld, so you can still fit the ball joint in there and it's not taking up any space.
They're getting ready for camp and drag, so he's getting ready to take off for that. So I get the message. So this is pretty cool. 2 weeks before camp and drag, FML, all parts have been discontinued. None of the pictures came
He
through.
hit me up with, you're going to love this one.
And I said, what parts are you talking about? And he goes, and then I get all the pictures. He's like, my bad, the pictures didn't come through. But I was like, oh, that's
he has been fixing that truck.
Since he bought it.
Fixing the mistakes of that truck
Yeah.
from the previous owners.
Like
since the day he
every
bought
one
it.
of us.
Is
Like
that
every
truck-
one of us that
is that
buys
truck on
something
air
already
ride?
built.
It
Yes,
is.
sir.
Yeah, it's a dually.
Every one of us
3500.
that buys something built.
I don't think I've
And
seen
in
that
this
truck.
case, that wasn't
You never seen
something that was
think
built
so.
wrong. That was just an inferior design on that on said control
Well,
arm.
and you got to consider, I don't know how long it's been bagged, but
20
I mean,
years, he said.
It's
Okay, so I mean,
it was a shop build initially.
and,
like
and, and if it's an inferior design, it held up 20 years. So
That, and on a dually, no less, that
Yeah.
also tows. I gave him props for that, and he said the same thing. He's like, he was just shocked that it busted. I said, well, here is the flaw in the design. It is half-inch plate, but it's only this wide. It's only going to take so much abuse from such a
and
heavy
he's
vehicle.
he's towing. That hearse is
Heavy.
heavy.
And then what's the motor? Like, I mean, it's a dually with a massive motor. It's so much weight on that thing,
It's
and and it goes up and down, so it's not even. It's taking so much abuse.
the trailer he has for the hearse that he trailers with is made for like tractors.
Yeah.
It's like a 5,000-pound trailer, and then the hearse itself is heavy.
Make
It's
sure
over 10.
Make sure you send those pictures to Will so he can.
Probably got what dual 10K axles on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, send those pictures to Will so he can show the viewers as well.
That's bananas.
Let go. I was like, well, here's how I would fix it, but also,
I think,
and I gave him props for that too. He said it was 20 years old. I said, yeah, not for nothing, it did hold up for 20 years.
yeah, I think he weighed the hearse at one point. I think it's well over 8K.
Well over, fuck.
I think he's pushing 10.
Yeah, I think it's. I was being mild with 8. I think it's honestly.
10,000 with all the goodies he's got in that
Yeah.
thing.
Let me ask you. I'll ask him right quick while y'all converse over here.
Yeah, that thing's stupid heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a. I want to say the trailer is
isn't
rated
even
for
a-
16.
This isn't even a small hearse. This is just a gigantic hearse. It's a
Yeah.
motor home.
Yeah.
That says Cadillac on the front, like, and then he's got however many thousands of pounds of audio in it, and
Lots-
speaker box
lots
and
and lots
amps
of
and
weight.
subs and
Yep.
So it's a
fiberglass.
heavy bitch. Heavy.
When he's tearing floors up. That
Yeah.
was the last I heard.
Yeah.
Is his floor was actually starting to shear his
from
floor,
Yeah, it was from the stereo was
yeah.
tearing the floor.
shearing the floor.
Yep.
I'm like, you got, and it wasn't like
That's the one you're
inferior.
gonna sit in, baby.
It wasn't inferior metal that
tearing
was like
steel.
rotted out. It was just
yeah.
shearing the floor next to the body mounts and everything. I'm like,
He was doing
I'm
demo
immediately
runs
regretting
and
that decision.
He was doing
Sitting in the
demo
car.
runs, and somebody literally went, I can see the ground. And he goes, yeah, I know your feet are on. He's like, no, under your car.
yeah. I see daylight. And
'Cause
when
it was-
not,
yeah.
not something anybody wants to hear when you say, I see daylight through the bottom of your floor.
Yep.
But
Oh,
didn't
guess-
want to sidestep too
Personally,
hard.
7K. I thought it was
Oh.
higher.
Get out.
7,000.
All right, well, that's, I mean, your dually's 7 to 9.
Yeah. Well, anywho.
Back on topic.
Let's,
yeah.
well, you know, we're running up on an hour here.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we wrap this one up with
What do the
final
viewers
thoughts
think?
here.
Oh, you cheap bastard! How dare you wrap it? Let's go.
He's like, let's wrap it up.
Yes, wrap it up.
This podcast has no soul apparently. So fucking hit the button, turn it off, we'll push on to the next one.
Oh no, we can't do
One
that.
last
Tell
question
us
about
what
the
you think.
wraps. Will your printer print one of those?
It will not. It will not. And see, and that leads me to
Well, it'll print. We just put some
point.
double-sided sticky tape on it. We'll do a real
you-
cheap wrap.
Did you glue a poster to your hood? What is that?
here's another small thing that I looked into today, right? Because we decided we want to talk about this subject.
I didn't do any research. I'm just going off the cuff.
say
I could
you
be dead
wanted-
wrong on everything. I apologize.
Say you wanted to wrap it yourself, right, and print your own design and do all that stuff. The cost of a printer to do one of these is
Astronomical.
outrageous, right? Like I have a fairly large Canon printer to print banners and posters and all kind of stuff for my
I think
photography.
that
and
was
all
a few
stuff.
grand too, right?
And that was probably $2,500 alone. These printers that can print these wraps for cars are starting at $5,000, and that's from like Alibaba, and who knows what kind of ink it uses,
Yeah.
and you might get half a panel printed, and you're waiting 6 months to a year
Up to what,
get it
40
to your-
grand?
to get it to your door. Oh, up to hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
dollars.
wow.
Like
So,
the prices on
market
these things
difference.
are so like. But just the average guy would probably end up spending 10 grand on a printer, and then you got to buy a wrap, and then you got to buy all these special inks, because then there's resin printers, there's these crazy UV ink.
Then there's
printers.
knowing how to do the tech side of it.
Right, like you're gonna spend, if you wanted to do it yourself, you're gonna spend more on your initial startup than you would on nice paint guns, House of Colors supplies.
That does sound
it's
kind of soulless.
insane.
And some people just don't have big garages to spray stuff in. You're not going to win me over on this one.
You're still going to need a big
Actually,
roster.
I got another one that's similar. What about guys that have or want CNC machines for metal to make shaped metal? Isn't that the same thing?
I don't think
So
it is.
it's soulless metal.
I don't think it
It's the
is.
same fucking thing, bro.
I don't think it is.
How is it not?
It's not. Okay, so that's just cutting out metal. Would
I think
you're
he's
gonna trace-
talking about forming, like what I was referring to earlier, where I'm still on the fence about that myself. I
Yeah.
feel a little bit more accomplished with a piece that I made from scratch opposed to a piece that I typed into. A
if
computer.
you're building a panel
You
from
didn't type it
scratch,
in the computer.
I think it's the same. It's
He
the
can't
same.
log. He can't log into a computer. We can never worry about that. He's got to do it by
And
hand.
this is why I've learned by hand. Go to hell, every one of them.
The panel things to me are very much similar to the wraps, right? They have their place. If you're just printing out a panel for some Fox body Mustang or Camaro, who gives a shit?
Right.
If you've got this,
So now the car
what's-
comes into play. With you. Jesus Christ.
yes, because it's
He's
the
not
style,
wrong.
it's the style of car,
if
right?
you're making a car from scratch and you've got a wooden buck, a buck is something that you actually lay the metal over to create the shape. And you've got a wooden buck and you're going to create it by hand to get this desired shape of this imagination that you have of this vehicle, to get it printed out on a machine. To me, it does lose that eclectic value, whereas a person is spending hours or days or weeks perfecting that shape with an English wheel, with
if you're-
planishing hammer, with proper metal forming tools.
If you're building an old hand-built like British car for some
Yeah.
crazy reason,
Yeah.
and you print one of those panels, that car has no soul, right?
But how do you know it was printed? You can't tell.
It's more of a perception, and the person knowing it. It's a preference. It's not. I'm not going to tell anybody. It's it's for the builder, not outwardly. Well, you can't tell. Well, hopefully the wrap is good enough that you can't tell it's a damn wrap either. But it doesn't mean, to me, it takes any value away from the fact that it still was not done by hand by somebody with experience and soul doing that.
Right.
I mean, but
Only the guy that built it's going to know. So if he
Correct,
sells
correct.
it, then that guy sells it. The third
If it's
guy-
something somebody wants, I mean, send it out the door, make your money. But for me personally, for myself, for my crew, I'm not gonna just, here you go, print this out.
I mean,
you know?
all these cars that we own are stamped out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Every single one of them.
But that's factory, right? I'm talking about a hand-built car.
Yeah, hand built, especially on a side note, something that was originally hand built from the factories. Like
That's
if
what I'm
you've got a
saying,
British
like
car or a Porsche or something that was literally hand formed from a factory and then assembled back in that year, to then recreate that by popping it out. No, rebuild it by hand. That's where I guess that's where my heart goes. Now, whether everybody agrees with that or their wallet agrees with that, well, that's what makes us all beautiful. We all have our own opinions about it.
I think money is the biggest factor in
Money
all
is
of this.
always the driving factor.
Always
any of
so.
this. Even going to school and learning this cost me money. Like, I mean, how much do you want to learn that demograph of skill?
Well, this has been a frightening episode because I think this is the most that you and I have agreed in a long time.
Yeah, I hate your opinions.
I
Actually,
hate you.
you were on the
Why did you have an upward inflection?
you're on the
Like,
left.
I
I'm on the
hate
right.
you.
He's kind of in the middle somewhere.
I really
He's
am.
teetering.
I really am. I'm fucking. I see your points. I see his points.
And-
And I'm the builder. And I'm a builder. And
I-
I'm over here like I see the points on both sides. They're valid.
I cannot disagree that like paint is the way to go, but also balling on a budget. If you can afford a wrap,
affordability and time wise, absolutely.
I'm
and then when
I'm all for
your
balling
painter
on a budget.
retires,
And
I'm all for balling
the more
on a
we
budget.
talk
Listen,
about
I'm
it,
rocking a Fugazi. Like I'm all
Hey,
about
how
balling on
you
a
can't
budget.
have any opinion with a fake ass Rolex
I
on your
can.
left wrist.
Sure, I can.
that's a soulless Rolex.
100%. It's a soulless Rolex.
I think I'm mostly on the fence.
I'm a judge your non-painted car with my fake Rolex. Got this shit out of a trunk for $59.99.
I think,
Fuck out of here,
listen,
bro.
I think I'm mostly on the fence because I'm coming from a place of a builder. If I was just, anybody else that pays to get my cars done, I would be on the fence, but I think I'm falling more towards what Will's saying, only because I do the building and I do the prepping
let-
and I do the.
But just one quick little thing right here, right? You've bagged several vehicles in the past couple months.
Mm-hmm.
How many people bought prefab suspension parts versus having you hand build them?
It's been a 50-50, and I will say to that, if I'm bagging a car and they do offer something, I do, and it's a reputable company, I do 100% suggest that, because
But
what it
those
does, it
prefab
saves that.
parts are still made. Just because he's not making them doesn't mean someone else
That's
is.
true. They are made. They're pieces that are cut to length. They're put on jigs, so they can
Right.
pop these out 100 at a week.
What's the driving factor in that?
Money. That's
Money.
Yeah.
So I'm saying
So it would cost more for me to make it from scratch,
Exactly.
and possibly have not so much of an inferior part, but a less of a beefy or like aesthetically pleasing part, whereas something's being cut, designed, shaped, and then they gets to a jig, and then it's welded up, and then it's delivered to me, and it's a reputable part. It's strong. It's got all structural integrity. So I agree.
It
I
saves
agree
two
with
things.
that.
It saves two things: time and money.
Right, for me and the
same
customer.
thing for a
Saves
wrap for a paint is going
time
to save
for me.
time and money.
Time for me, time for the customer, and money for the customer.
Listen, man, if you wrap your car and you're proud of it, roll it. I'll high five you, and I'll love your car. So
100%, and I agree with you that 100%.
He's like, I'll high five
100%.
you in the face with a chair.
he's gonna go, you son of a bitch.
Soulless.
I
I bet
would
it's
never.
got bags.
I would never judge somebody else for how they built their car. But that ain't my car. I don't have to drive it. I don't care.
He's like, but as soon as I get inside, I'll be talking again. I will judge the shit out of him.
No.
Did you see that shit at the show? Did you see that chrome painted frame?
Oh,
that's
there we
spray Here you go. See,
They say
That was
they save time and money, and we judge the shit out of them. I ain't gonna lie, but
time and money.
See?
Bro, they hardly saved time. I could smell it. The fumes were still coming off, and it was at the show. There was some silver on the grass.
anyway.
All
Let
right.
us know. Let us know how you feel in the comments. Your thoughts on this whole
Yeah.
debate here?
I
I
am
think,
curious.
it's part of the progression, and I'm all for it. Not all for it, but I'm okay with it.
I understand it. I think it's part of the, dare I say, progression, and I think it's inevitable,
There you have
whether I
it.
love it or not.
Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know.
All 6 of you.
Catch you guys on the flip side.
It's been an hour. They've been going for 49 minutes.